L is a mysterious figure in Death Note who is known for his genius within the world of investigation. Known to have cracked some of the most impossible cases the world has seen, it was thought that the investigation in front of him would be another routine operation for L. A massive problem for L is his opponent Light Yagami. He is an incredibly intelligent problem solver who schemes around the realm of unknown that the Death Note provides. This proves to be a constant challenge that makes L doubt his own abilities despite narrowing down suspects and actually solving the case at a superhuman rate. This is because even though he is confident in the fact that Light is Kira, he can't gather evidence to prove this theory. This issue of not finding concrete evidence is one that pushes L to the brink of giving up on the case on multiple occasions. I think those moments of doubt are perfect for a character like L. To viewers, he obviously has his flaws, but his intelligence is far from being considered one. However, even someone as smart as him can be harmed by the intelligence he has attained. Since he is so extremely intelligent, he has never struggled to get results during a case, and likely has never faced the mental burden of failure when it comes to his intelligence. This is another reason why the Death Note is such an interesting opponent for L. With so many uncertainties and theories surrounding the weapon used for Kira's murders, L is forced to rely on instinct and intuition to take tactical risk. These risks are foreign to L, as all his previous work up to this point has dealt with the physical realm where decisions and accusations are based fully upon hard facts and evidence. The constant uncertainty caused by these issues shows L suffers in the face of hardship and would rather ease up than keep pushing.
面白い考えだが、もしそうならキラを捕まえるのは容易じゃないな。はい、だから参ってるんです。操られた者が捕まっても力を他の者に移し記憶は残さない。これではいくら捕まえても無駄です。しかしまだそうと決まったわけじゃないだろう。やる気出せよ。やる気？あまり出ませんね。いや、あまり頑張らない方がいい。必死になって追いかけてもこっちの命が危なくなるだけ。そう思いませんか？
This lack of enthusiasm and motivation to keep going is a major weakness for L. Luckily, Light isn't currently in possession of the Death Note and talks L back into giving his all into the case. If it wasn't for this moment, L could have been the sole reason for letting Light get away with this scheme and rule the world of justice. Another factor that plays heavily into L's flaws is his inability to accept other people's perspectives. He is very stubborn with his methods and believes if others can't do it his way, then they should be pushed aside. This mindset is revealed when the police force and L decide to continue their investigations separately from one another due to a disagreement within the team.
やっぱり私は一人でキラーを追います。この本部は八神さんたちにもお貸ししますし、私も使う。八神さんたちは八神さんたちのやり方で捕まえるなり好きなようにしてください。私は私のやり方で捜査していきます。そうしないと口論になるだけです。別行動にしましょう。
つまり龍崎はあくまでもキラに絞って追うということか。
はい、この事件はキラを捕まえなければ解決しない。目の前の何人かの死を阻止することが意味のないことだとは言いません。しかし全ての真相を解明しなければ、またキラが現れ犠牲者は結果的に増えるならば、何よりもキラを断定すべきというのが私の考えです。私は7人逮捕には反対ですから、やるなら八神さんたちの責任でお願いします。私は私でキラを。
Despite having great resources around him who are willing to stop at nothing to catch Kira, he chooses to push them away instead since they don't agree with his methods of doing things. An even bigger issue is how easily he does so. Rather than try to make sense of how he sees the situation to them, he dismisses them immediately. Another interesting thing that L says is that working together will only result in arguments. I think this goes hand in hand with L's flaw of avoiding challenges. When things got hard in the case, he wanted to ease up, and when there was a chance for argument within the group, he wanted to split up. This inability to accept arguments when they occur leads to a massive issue for L. Not only does it make him a potentially difficult person to work with, it also leads to L not being able to accept new ideas and perspectives. The combination of these flaws leads to L lacking critical skills needed when working with a team of people. Simply put, his desire to avoid conflict and challenges drives him to actions that cause him to push others away and shut down any potential chance that he may not have the best idea or method for doing things. While these traits are massive flaws for L and can cause him issues and put him in worse spots when working with a team, there are many times where it pays off. There are multiple times throughout the show that do prove the fact that L is in a league of his own, quickly deducing that Light was Kira was nothing short of genius. The way he handles the case and gathers information is extremely effective, and is something only he could do. With that comes L's ability to properly time when they should play it safe and when they should risk something in pursuit of more evidence. This is where a large portion of disagreement occurs within the group. The police force pursues justice over everything else and is willing to arrest a few people for a chance to catch Kira, while L wants to ensure all the facts are straight, even if it costs a few more lives. His stubbornness and unwillingness to work with others might be a result of his desire to solve the case the whole way through, rather than rush things for just a chance at getting things right. Another major problem with the police force that drove L away was their own bias towards Light. No matter how much circumstantial evidence L gathered against Light, the police force seems to try their best to dismiss the possibility that Light is Kira any chance they get. Not only this, but the police force was actively trying to clear Light's name every chance they got, no matter how minor the evidence was. Their constant ignorance towards the possibility that Light was Kira likely drove L to a point where he decided it was better to work alone rather than continue work with the police force. In my opinion, this is a tragic result. Both sides show major flaws that find a way to only harm each other. L's inability to reason with people and see different perspectives leads to him losing driven allies, while the police force's ignorance causes them to lose the greatest detective mind in the world. The dynamic of these flaws is perfect. It's almost as if the team was built to fall apart at some point. The entire group's morals and sense of justice are extremely different in general. An example of this is some people in the group believe that what Kira is doing isn't entirely wrong, while others believe his actions are evil and need to be stopped. These little differences within the group slowly lead to more and more problems. As the team gets deeper into the case and they gather different pieces of evidence, the belief of how they should carry on varies. So while L's actions definitely show flaws within his character, there are definitely flaws that the police force has themselves. This is what makes the entire group dynamic so interesting. Their flaws perfectly feed off of each other, making it seem like no one side is right or wrong. This is proven when L decides to work alone. He tells the police force they can turn in the evidence they have gathered and arrest the people they are suspecting, but if they do, they must take responsibility for those actions. While I can't officially say so, I believe the police force chose to take L's advice not to report the suspects because they knew L was right and not because they would have taken responsibility for being wrong. Ultimately, the group's dynamic creates an interesting scenario that shows that even the sharpest of minds and most determined of people can have flaws that lead to missteps and errors that work to harm valuable progress. When we first meet L, it is revealed to us that he is very pale, non-social, paranoid, and extremely secretive. Even when working, we see L keeps his distance, sending his assistant Watari to appear in front of the government rather than himself. This behavior is a result of his desire to keep his identity a secret from everyone. He takes these precautions before the thought of the death note is even revealed to him. Sadly, because of the seclusion that he imposes upon himself, he doesn't socialize with many people and doesn't have anyone he considers a friend or equal. This lack of connection with anyone also resulted in L not truly understanding what a true friend or human connection felt like, and developing an almost twisted friendship with Light. While both sides ultimately could never truly understand a human connection, I believe the game of cat and mouse they play against each other leads L to admire Light as an enemy. He is the only person who has ever matched him intellectually, and as a result, he grows to enjoy the game they play against each other. L even toys with the thought of them being friends. He mentions on multiple occasions that Light is the one and only friend he has made. While he was lying at this moment to see how Light would react to this behavior, I think it further proves the twisted connection they have. They both utilize things such as human connections and friendships to further make progress in their intellectual duel. Where any normal person would see those connections as something to foster and care for, L and Light see as a means to an end. A perfect example of this is displayed by L when he asks Light to use his one-sided relationship with Misa to gather information on the second Kira.
ライト君、アマネとは本気で？
いや、さっきも言ったように彼女が一方的に。
じゃあ、ライト君も本気であるように振る舞ってもらえませんか？アマネが第二のキラと関係あるのはビデオの件から確かです。そして、ライト君を愛していることも。
彼女と親密になり、第二のキラのことを探れって言うのか。
はい。ライト君ならできると思いますし、そうしてアマネから解明の糸口をつかもうというのも、二人を解放した大きな理由です。
龍崎、いくらキラ事件解決のためとはいえ、女性のそういう気持ちを利用するなんて僕にはできない。悪いが分かってくれ。人の行為を踏みにじるようなことは僕の中で一番許せない憎むべき行為なんだ。
The only reason Light reacted this way was because he wasn't currently in possession of the Death Note. If he was, then there would have been genuine thought that went into how he answered that question, rather than the White Knight answer that he gave in that moment. Every interaction they have, every person they keep close, and every action they make is a calculated risk in order to gain something. This is what makes them admire each other so much. They think the same way. Nothing around them matters besides the duel they have against each other. Since neither of them truly understand friendship, the game they play against each other is the closest they will ever get to being connected with a person. So while the normal definition of friendship can't be used to define what they are to each other, I do think that some level of connection was made between them that they wouldn't have made with anyone else in the world. I think this understanding they have for each other is pushed even further when L asks Light if he has ever told the truth once in his life.
生まれてから一度でも本当のことを言ったことがあるんですか？
何を言ってるんだ龍崎。確かに僕もたまには嘘をつく。しかし真実のみを口にして一生を終える人間もまたいないんじゃないか。人間はそんなに完璧に出来上がってはいない。誰しも嘘はつく。それでも僕は故意に人を傷つける嘘だけは言わないよう心がけてきた。それが答えだ。
そう言うと思ってました。
This scene displays that L understands Light better than anyone else since he is the same way, willing to do anything even if that means lying at every corner in order to gain the upper hand in their duel. This twisted battle comes to an end shortly after this conversation as L gets killed by Rem. However, even after L's death, Light continues to prove this twisted inability to create real human connections.
君のお父さんは一体何のために？父さん八神総一郎か。そうだ松田。ああいうクソ真面目でまっすぐな人間が損をするんだ。そんな世の中でいいのか。分かったらそこにいるそいつらを殺せ。撃て。
This line further pushes the notion that Light didn't have the ability to create real human connections, going as far as to cast aside his own father as just another person. While this part in particular isn't connected to L, the way he so easily dismissed his father's death is interesting, as after L's death he can't seem to stop obsessing over L and their duel. He mentions him time and time again, and moments before his death he sees him. He doesn't see a family member or someone close to him, he sees L, the one and only person he ever saw worth anything. While this only shows up in the anime, I do believe L is the only person Light would have ever seen in this situation. This is because as twisted as their connection was, it was the only one either of them had in their lifetime. So even if they were on different sides, L and Light are in a sense one and the same. While they had different morals and senses of justice, the way they thought and operated through issues was the same. Neither of them were afraid to stop at anything to win their duel against each other. No person's intellect matched theirs, and as a result, they formed a twisted connection that they couldn't have made with anyone else. L is a genius that no one in the world could match. No matter the circumstances or challenges, he was able to utilize his intellect to crack any case and beat any culprit. However, in being the best at what he does came with many struggles and hardships. He had to remain secretive and secluded, hiding his face from almost everyone in the world. It was only in the most dire of situations that he revealed himself. And even then, it was to a very select group of people who had to undergo extreme security measures in order to gain the ability just to see L's face. They weren't even given a proper name, rather an alias. These extreme measures show just how cautious and uptight L was. These strict habits and behaviors have their purpose, and in the world of investigation, no one can be too safe, and L was very aware of this fact. Sadly, this came at the cost of being out of touch with society. His ability to work and reason with others was a weakness of his that was put on display throughout the series. Not only this, but his lack of previous mental challenges for L exposed a wavering motivation to keep going if things got difficult. Despite these flaws, he was able to figure out mystery after mystery involving the Death Note, and this ability ends up leading to a fascinating duel between L and Light that show the audience the development of a twisted rivalry between two geniuses disconnected from the world around them. L's strengths and weaknesses as a character are absolutely fascinating. They are the reason why he is so good at what he does. However, they also put him into risky situations that are ultimately the reason for his undoing. If not for Light and the Death Note, there would have never been a person or thing in the world that could have matched L's intellect and given us such an interesting story that shows the audience that even the smartest of people in the world have flaws that make them just as human as everyone else.